What's up, Commanders fans? Welcome into Believe in Commanders. Coming at you a couple days late. Tough loss. Had to digest a few things. I went up there. This is Brian Murphy. Went up there for the game. Had to sleep it off. Whirlwind. Just in a bad mood right after the game. So we're coming to you a couple days late. But I'm with my man AAA Anthony Armstrong. How are you doing? Other than the obvious that we'll get to.
I can tell you right now, I'm doing amazing. I started the
Good.
day with good little affirmation I saw on the social media. It
Love
said,
it.
universe, show me how good it can be. That's what I said, and the day's been great since then. Had a little massage. I think I needed that after that game, though. Too. It was like that game was so draining. You know what I mean? It was physically and mentally draining, and but now we good. We good.
Yeah.
We rinsed it off. Flush it, and let's move it forward.
Yeah, that's right. We're past the 24-hour rule that we have had, that you have had, but we still got to talk about it, break it down a little bit as we talk about everything that went wrong in that Sunday night dud. That's what I'm calling this one, a Sunday night dud, which is it absolutely was. But hey, you're still in the 7th spot. You still got the season in front of you. But before we get to all that, there's so many layers to all this. But tell us about our guys at Bet Online, where you can put in your AAA parlay and all your bets for the rest of the football season and the NBA season.
Yes, indeed. The NBA is in full effect. I mean, teams are making, jostling for positions now and getting into the big time Christmas Day games. And you can bet those on Bet Online. It's your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. You're going to find those latest odds, team matchup info, player news, game trends, all over there at Bet Online. And as your continued source for all your sports wagering information, BetOnline has live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. I wonder if they can put something in your stocking for Christmas. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports and events, whether that's the NFL, NBA, MMA, NHL, tennis, boxing, or even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use our promo code BELIEVE to get your rewards. All right, it's 50% welcome bonus, y'all. So you put in 100, they're going to give you 50. Use that code BELIEVE, get that code BLEAV to receive your rewards. Bet Online, where the game starts.
That's right. And Oliver is freaking out, man. He just suffered his first loss. He is now 4-1-1. So I got my 5-week-old here. He's not having it today. He's still frustrated about it. But let's get into it. The Sunday night dud, like I said, we're going to call it. What are your initial thoughts? Obviously, I was there, and I'll talk about my experience there. But watching it on TV, everything was hyped up coming into this game. Everything was right there in front of you. And then at the end of the day, they came out flat. They came out and lost a big one, and now they're reeling a little bit. So what are your initial thoughts after that loss to the Giants?
Oh, man, there was so much that went down in that game. And on Twitter, I was one of many that was highly upset with the officiating at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, I know. You don't want to put it on the refs. You don't want to sit there and blame the refs and say, well, we lost because of the guys in black and white. That's not why I posted that. I posted that because it was bad. It was some egregiously bad calls that were one was called and then one wasn't called in almost successive plays. So it's like it was very frustrating to have the game end that way, especially having it's not really ended on the field per se. Like it's not just like, hey, New York stopped him. Like the guy was draped all over Curtis Samuel and then knocked the ball away. Like, hey, that's a flag. They throw PIs for less when it's in the open field. So my initial thought was just very upset with the officiating. But you look at the performance of the team, kind of hit and miss. And thinking about today, it's like the running game with Robinson is really good. But then it's almost like you have too many weapons and you're trying to get everybody involved. So then you go empty and you got Curtis Samuel in the backfield on 3rd and 1 and you hand it to him. I like the play call. I don't like the personnel. Like put 8 in there. You know what I'm saying? So come out in the second half, Terry McLaurin show, and that's great. And that got things rolling. But it was like Scott Turner hadn't found a way to intertwine both of those aspects into a drive. It's almost as if he comes out and he's like, this one's I'm going to run, and this time I'm going to pass. And, he kind of sticks to a certain script. I mean, I don't know. That's how it felt. It's how it felt. But they fought, they scratched, they clawed, but they just left a little bit too much meat on the bone and came up short at the end.
Yeah, it was frustrating. It felt like, obviously there are different things that you see when you're at the game versus watching on TV. So obviously, I agree with you about the officiating. Absolutely absurd watching it again. Obviously, we don't see a whole lot of replay when we're in the stadium. So, I just kind of thought it was a bad lineup. I didn't realize that Terry McLaurin asked him twice. You know what I mean? Like
Twice.
that's egregious. That is terrible.
And he got confirmation. The guy said you're
Right.
good.
Yeah.
Terry, I don't. Like I said, I don't know Terry personally, but from everything that you've heard about this guy,
Yep.
I don't think he's gonna get up there and lie. Number
Mhm.
one, like he's a stand up guy. He's gonna say, "Yeah, I don't think I was up. I thought I was there, but I might have been a little bit." He's like, "No, I checked twice," and he said, "Yeah, I'm good." I don't see how you're gonna have your best player just signed a big deal. Just all he does is do the right thing, and now in
Yep.
this situation, he doesn't line up. That's a Pee Wee League penalty. That
Yep.
if it was a rookie, I'd have been like, I get it. It's not acceptable, but I get it. Right? You get a rookie in there and he doesn't scoot up enough. I get it. If it was some sort of exotic, explode to a different formation and things are shifting and changing around, I get it because those are one-off situations. But this guy lines up every single time at receiver on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. No
It
doubt
doesn't make
about it.
sense.
And listen, you already said you can't let it come down to the you can't let it come down to the officials, but it also I know, Oliver. I know it's bad.
Yeah.
You can't let it come down to the officials, but it also there are bad calls, and that's a terrible call right there in that situation. Then to follow it up with an even worse non-call. I mean, I get it's kind of like at the end of a basketball game, you're going to kind of let things go, but when it's
Yeah.
that obvious, I don't know how you can't pull that flag there. But at the
Yeah.
end
It's frustrating.
but at the end of the day, the Commanders left so much out there on the field, like you kind of talked about, fumbling twice, one leading to a touchdown, obviously, and one not allowing you to kick a field goal when you were down 6. So you wouldn't have even needed a touchdown, or I'm sorry, down 5. You would have been within a couple of points. It was bad all over the place. So while the reffing was terrible, the Commanders left a whole lot to be desired too. And I'm with you. I don't understand how watching at the game, even though I was real high up, maybe the last row of the stadium, I was in the building. I could see from up there that the Giants could not tackle Brian Robinson. They could not bring him down. Even when it looked like they brought him down, he still pulled them 4 or 5 yards. And then to switch it up and go finesse and go with a smaller guy and Curtis Samuel, who does find some success at times, but you got to ride that hot hand. And the fact that Brian Robinson only had 4 second half carries, it just
That's
felt
bad.
choppy, and it was an indictment on the entire game. And I'm with you. There wasn't an identity in that game. They didn't really get into a rhythm. And when they did, you're right. It felt like Scott Turner was like, oh, wait, I was going to call this play. Let me make sure I get it in. And it was just at the weirdest spots. And it's frustrating when you lose a game, but it's frustrating when you lose a game like that, where a couple of things go the right way, or you stay doing what you were doing successful and you come away with a huge win. It's just a bitter taste in my mouth even now, almost 48 hours later.
Yeah, it's like you bring it up again. You're like, oh yeah, that did kind of suck. But I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of weapons on the offense. There's a lot to work with, and I mean, it's like, was that a bad matchup against New York? Like it's like I said before. I think I said it before. They're not as great in the passing game. I mean, you saw how Philly lit them up, so I think they saw that and were like, "Ooh, let's do that," but also let's run it. And you got to do both, but I think you got to go back, look at the tape situationally, and say, "Hey, 8 needs to be in there anytime it's 3rd and 2nd and under." Even if you're going to pass it, put 8 back there. I love that you give Curtis Samuel chances to run the ball. He's effective with it, like you said. But situationally, I need my bulldozer to be back there and run straight down people's throats. And I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
It'll get figured out. The best part about it, though, Brian, they're sitting 7th. They're still in the playoffs right now.
That's right.
So
Absolutely.
we got something to look forward to.
Yeah, you still have it all in front of you. You go win these last 3 games, as tough as that may be, and we'll get into that later on in the week, coming up with the 49ers, that kind of thing. But it's all right there in front of you. You're still in a good spot. You're still in the 7th spot, and it's all right there. It is frustrating, as we knew what a win would do for your playoff chances. Now you got to fight a little bit, but it's right there in front of you. And so now, how does this team respond? I felt like all season long, this team has been, how have they responded? They kind of get dealt a blow. They go out there and they follow it up pretty nicely. They lost a tough one to Minnesota. They followed it up and got a win against the Eagles. Or am I mixing that up? Either way, they follow up a loss with a good reaction. So now it's it's Ron Rivera. It's these leaders of this team. What do they do from here? And that's the biggest thing. Are they going to let this kind of be the start of a snowball, or are they going to get it back together and realize, hey, we still have everything in front of us, let's go make it happen? And I tend to believe, from what I've seen this year, and not just being a homer, that they're going to turn it around. They're gonna be right there. But it still is it's frustrating, but it is right there. That's the positive that you got to take from it.
Yep, and they have a tough matchup coming up this weekend, Christmas Eve up there, all the way across in San Francisco. So it's a short week. They're going from a Sunday night to a Saturday game. They're gonna have to travel on Friday. It's a 5-6 hour flight. What you got?
One thing off the bat, you had 2 weeks off and you came out with this dud. Maybe this team is better with less time to prepare. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if that's a thing.
It is a thing. I mean, sometimes you keep your rhythm, because you think about it when you get into the playoffs. Sometimes they're like, oh, that first round bye isn't that good. I mean, you go back years back whenever Cowboys and Tony Romo had went to Cabo, and he was, and they were like, oh yeah, we went to Cabo, and everybody was, and then they came back and then they laid an egg. So, the season is long. It's a long grind, and I know I said don't go nowhere. And I mean, go take a little trip, take a little time to yourself. But definitely would have loved to see a little bit more fire out of them. But it is what it is. You're looking at the upcoming games, and you've got Dallas is the last game of the year. You've got, like I said, you've got San Francisco right here, and then you got Cleveland too. In the middle. So Cleveland in the middle, and frankly, none of them are slouches.
No,
none of them are slouches. You got to find a way to put some good stuff on tape, and this is going to be a hell of a test. Like we've been talking about D'Amico Ryans, like solidifying and putting a stamp on his name of being a next head coach somewhere. Scott Turner, this is your other competition, because his name has been circled around as a potential head coaching candidate in places too. So, you got D'Amico Ryans versus Scott Turner. This is a big matchup this upcoming week. So, I don't know. We'll preview that later on, but. Just looking ahead, it's not an easy road.
No,
you face some heavyweights. You definitely face some heavyweights, but it doesn't mean I still think they can be successful.
I think so too. But the thing that also you have to keep an eye on, and I mentioned it kind of at the end of our preview pod, that the Lions, they're surging. They're sitting there at 7-7. You're at 7-6-1. That means that if the Lions catch you, which they're a half game back or however it works with the tie in there, the tie's benefiting you against the Lions. The Lions beat you in week 2. So you've got them breathing down your neck. So yeah, you don't have any room for error. You got to figure it out. And, as bad as Sunday night was, I think it's a cliche, but we've said it. It's a week-to-week league. It doesn't mean you can't go out there and put together a great game plan for the 49ers and kind of stun them and surprise them. They are coming off a big division win to win the division. Maybe they take a breath and kind of take you lightly, and you're able to kind of punch them in the mouth. But yeah, they absolutely have the chance to respond. And it's now down to this 3-week stretch. Yeah. And I was thinking about it, and you kind of say it there. You can certainly find negatives in a win, and you can find positives in a loss. I think Jahan Dotson is a special weapon. You got to get him more involved. You saw what he can do. There's some guys, as you mentioned, there are weapons on this team that can be trouble for other teams. Now, unlike on Sunday, you got to go out there and you got to establish it. They got punched around a little bit. They kind of let the Giants dictate to them. And, these last 3 weeks, they've got to be the one to be assertive and to go out there and to dictate how they're going to play.
Yeah, Kayvon Thibodeau had a career half. My goodness, he had a game worth of just plays, and I don't know, he's a special player. I'm pissed that he got off that game and he started to show up, because they were like, he doesn't have as many sacks as you would expect from him, and then here you go, sack, fumble, touchdown. Like, dang, why'd you say that, Chris Collinsworth? Wasn't really nice. I went and quickly pulled up the Lions schedule. The Panthers on Christmas Eve, the Bears on New Year's Day, and then the Packers, and that game is TBD. So they're going to probably flex that. Yeah. You're looking at essentially, I mean, if I'm looking right now, you're gonna have to say definitely could get two of those.
Yeah.
Definitely
If
could
not
get
all
two of
three.
those,
Yeah.
but it could really end up being all three. I mean, the way that those guys play and they're motivated now. They are
Yeah.
heated. I mean, they're rolling. So I don't know. It's because I'm gonna let them other folks do it. I'm gonna just read up on the different playoff scenarios.
Right.
You told me there was a website though. You said there's a website that has something like that.
Yeah, so 538. So I think it's part of ESPN. They do a lot of really good predictions or percentages, that kind of thing. I'm trying to pull it
Okay.
up now. But yeah, it's we weren't kidding. I mean, Sunday was huge. Now the Giants go from the Giants go from behind the Commanders now to a 90% chance to be in the playoffs. Right now, they're sitting at 87%. The Commanders are at 35%. The Lions are sitting at 40%. So they're saying the Lions, even though they have a worse record than the Commanders right now, have a better chance at getting to the playoffs. You don't want to harp again on the Giants loss, but it sets you back. And now you're looking at a 49ers team that is really tough, and you can't say it's a must win, but it feels like it's kind of a must win in a way.
Yeah. Off script, and I know we'll address it. And this is going to be all going around, but is now the time that you see Chase Young?
Man, I don't. To me, so I want to ask you this. I don't know. At this point, I'm not sure. I don't know when you see him, if at all, because I felt like Sunday was the perfect time to debut in a nationally televised game, and a game that you had to have. So I thought we might be surprised to him, being a late, addition. I know it was coming out Sunday morning that wasn't going to happen, but I don't know. I don't know when we see him. I don't know if it's this year. I don't know if it makes sense to have him in these last three games. You'd like to see him out there, but if there's something going on there, you don't want to jeopardize it this late in the season now that, just to try to make something happen. My question to you is, do you think it's a mental thing for him? Do you think it's a team thing, or what is the holdup here? Because it seems like we should have seen him by now.
I've seen some reports where it's really just come down to him being mentally ready. Like it seems like he's the only one holding himself back, and I can understand it. I haven't had any ACL injuries, fortunately, and knocking on wood. But I've had like hamstrings, okay, and where it's not the same, but where you can understand it is, I'm a fast person. And if I'm running and I feel something in there, I won't be confident to run my fastest speed because I'll be afraid of re-injury. So if he doesn't feel confident in doing some of the moves that he would want to do on the field, then that's probably one of the reasons why he's saying, not yet. I don't know. I've been so hopeful. You're like, oh man, I want to see Chase get out there. And I'm fine with being patient. I would say falling to 30% chances of making it. Plus, you're going up against a running attack with San Fran, a running attack with a big ass running back with Cleveland, and then you got what Dallas does. You're right. It may be you may just need to say, go ahead and chill. Let's just finish this thing out with who we got. But I mean, obviously, if he's on the 53, then they'll just continue to have him inactive, and that's just basically will be what it is. I'm at the point where if he shows up, awesome.
Yeah.
If not, no worries. Get healthy. Take care of yourself. We'll need you in the future, type of a thing. So definitely not writing him off. No, I don't say trade him. No, I don't get into all that stuff, because that's when you start to make players like material possessions. All right.
Absolutely.
He's a human being who had a catastrophic injury, and he's trying to get himself right. So let him get himself right.
And a lot of times, this is the thing that I've thought all along. I guess people are saying that, it's been over a year since he's been hurt. And I think Adrian Peterson was just kind of the exception to the rule with how fast
he's a freak.
He came back, right?
He's a freak.
So most of these guys that we see tear an ACL, and I'm overgeneralizing, are, skill players, right? Making those cuts, that kind of thing. Well, those skill players are what, maybe 200 pounds, 220. I look a quick Google search, and Chase Young is 45 additional pounds. You can't tell me that that's not part of it too. And so for me, it's like, you can't put a timeline on this guy. And so maybe it was a rush, a month ago to say that he was available or practicing. I know they had a timeline that they had to hit, that kind of thing, but I don't think any of these knee injuries are the same. You can't just say, oh, it's a torn ACL and chalk it up to 12 months. When a guy is almost 300 pounds, 6'5", that's a little bit different than your slot receiver. You know, I'm thinking about Jamison Williams on the Lions tearing it in January, being back less than a year later. That's totally different. And so that's the part that like, I don't think it's fair to Chase Young. Now, you know, if it is mental, if it is, you know, if he's worried about it, then he shouldn't be playing. If there's any doubt, you know, you can't be playing scared. But I'm with you. I don't want to put a negative connotation on the guy. I think that this is, like you said, it could be a life-changing injury. Make sure you're right. Make sure you're good to go, because you don't want that to happen again and derail your career even further.
Yeah, he'll be all right. He's gonna be fine. He'll end up suiting up again. So we just be patient. Be patient. Just be patient. Pump the brakes.
All right. So I pulled up the playoff odds since we did it last week when we were feeling positive. Let's pull it up now when we're kind of feeling in the dumps.
Let's see.
The Commanders right now have a let me clear it back out. I was already playing with it. So the Commanders right now 35% chance. Lions with a 40% chance. The Commanders win, regardless of what the Lions do, they jump up to 65% chance, where the Lions drop down to a 31% chance. If the Lions beat the Panthers, they jump back up to a 50% chance, so it's 55-50. Now, if the Lions beat the Panthers, you still with me? Is that making sense?
I'm following. Lions beat the Panthers.
If the Lions beat the Panthers and you drop against the 49ers, the Lions have a 65% chance. You're down to 13%.
Good number, but bad percentage to have.
Yeah, that's right.
And likelihood to make it to the playoffs.
So you gotta pull the upset. You know, I really feel like you gotta beat the 49ers. And again, it's not over, and things could change, and you never know what can happen week to week, but this is where you put yourself at. It's kind of back up against the wall. Go make it happen.
Yeah, and I honestly, I told you, I've said it all the time. I think winning is the way you need to try to do. Try to win. I mean, people can be like, oh, let's just tank it so we can get a better draft pick.
No.
Almost said a bad word. We got kids in the building.
That's right.
Look, just still try to win. You got a chance to get in there because I think a matchup against Minnesota is favorable for you. But I think now this takes me back to when I was in Miami, 2008. Remember when the Wildcat came out?
Oh, yeah.
Bill Belichick didn't know what to do when Tony Sparano told the offensive coordinator to go ahead and put that Wildcat in there, and it took over the league. No, I'm not saying go put in the Wildcat, but I think you need to just come up with some wrinkles.
Yeah.
If it's a 2-quarterback system, because I know people start to say, hey, maybe we need to think about putting Wentz in there, but find some way to get a W. Get creative. Do something. That way you can at least try to make some and give yourself a chance. Give yourself a chance to get into the tournament.
I'm with you. And, you know, you kind of built this reputation as a team that's going to kind of pound the rock a little bit. And then where did you find success against the Giants? You come out in the second half. I don't know the breakdown, but I felt like they were throwing the ball all over the place. You throw a nice strike to Jahan Dotson. And then even late in the game, you're at your own 9-yard line. You fire up a 60-yarder to Jahan Dotson. So maybe it's not even anything drastic like that, trick plays and whatnot. But maybe you come out kind of firing, go no huddle a bunch of different times, just mix up your tempo. Whereas you've kind of become, or at least when they've been successful, they've kind of held onto the ball and controlled the clock. Maybe you try to speed it up a little bit. But I'm with you. You got to throw something at them, especially when, you know, and I don't think it's a knock. I think the 49ers, their defense is just really good. I feel like if you're at a disadvantage, you got to come up with something that puts you at an advantage, and maybe that's the way to do it.
Absolutely. But there's one thing that I wanted to add, and I wanted to bring up. The Sean Taylor, I kind of glitched out. The Sean Taylor tribute was updated.
Yeah.
Correctly updated. So I'm glad they updated it, painted taped the face mask. They swapped out Nike jerseys for Reebok. And mind you, I didn't know that it was Nike. I didn't realize it was a Nike jersey before. So I'm wondering, why in the hell didn't you do it right this first time?
I know. I think that's everybody's feeling. I'll be honest. Maybe I'm not the best fan to talk to about that, but when I go to a game, I don't want to leave my seat, and I legitimately did not leave my seat. So I went up there and I sat and I watched the game, but I heard about it afterwards. And I will say, it's better late than never, right? So that
Yeah.
they got it right is a good thing. And I missed the opportunity to go see that, but I'm glad they were able to tweak that a little bit to at least make it more realistic to the way Sean played.
Yeah, and the way he's remembered too.
Yeah.
And I wasn't upset about the face mask not being taped, but I'm more happy that they did tape it.
Well, that was his iconic thing, right? Was the face mask and all that. One thing I was going to say from being there, and I don't know how much it's seen on the sideline. I don't really recall seeing it a whole lot while watching. But Carson Wentz was, you mentioned two quarterbacks, so that's what made me think about it. And I don't know if they would go to that system like the Texans have. Might be a little bit drastic, but Carson Wentz was throwing the ball a lot on the sideline. So Taylor Heineke would throw the ball before going out there. I think that's pretty common for the starting quarterback to do. Yeah. But Carson Wentz was throwing the ball a whole lot, and he was even doing some rollouts, and he was doing a couple of different things that I thought was a little bit interesting. And maybe that's what he does every week. I don't know. Like I said, I don't see it a whole lot on the TV, but I thought it was interesting because he was, just kind of firing it over to the receiver that would toss it to Taylor. But then he would kind of do a fake handoff and he'd roll out a little bit, kind of almost like he was running different scenarios. So I don't know if that's a thing that he's being told to stay ready. Obviously, you have to as the backup quarterback, but just thought it was a little interesting.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty. I'm gonna say that's some pro level preparation. You know what I mean? Just like, hey, every rep that you take, even if you just play and catch, you can work something. That's a thing that we do in the league. When I'm training kids, training athletes, I tell you, hey, look, just because I'm telling you to run down here doesn't mean that you can't like work on your stance and start, right? Find something to work on all the time. And him working on the rollouts is definitely staying ready. But you just, he's not just going to be over there, throwing up lollipops. So it's good that he's definitely staying ready on movement. But that is interesting. Good catch from up there.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have thought anything of it because I'm sure backup quarterbacks throw the ball around too. Like I mean, one play in a violent game, you're right back in there. What got me was it wasn't just like a rollout. He was rolling out the other way a couple of times. He was doing a couple of different things, which made me think, he's definitely going to be ready should that happen. So maybe close with this. Ron Rivera said they're sticking with Taylor Heineke. At what point? When would you go back to Carson Wentz? What would it take over these last 3 weeks?
Man, I will tell you this. If you go way down and you feel if you lose if the unfortunate circumstance comes up where you're in that 13%, range of making it into the playoffs, maybe that's when you just say go ahead and give it back to them just for the final 2 games. That way, you can just get some more reps on him and get him back in your system a little bit. I don't know. But then also I could say, hey, let Taylor just finish out the year. It's 2 games. And then you can address what you want to do in the following season because a lot of people are going to bring Sam Howell's name up into the mix as well. So if anything, you put Carson in to let him see what he looks like on tape post-injury and then use those 2 games to help evaluate the entire season, because I think at that point you'll have close to a similar amount of games from both players. You'll have some decent tape where you can see how Carson has looked with the offense, and you can see what Taylor has done with the offense, and maybe it helps them get a better evaluation. I say it's fine, stick with Taylor. He moves the team, and they said it on the broadcast. He has it. He's the guy. The teammates look to him. He's the guy. So as long as they're listening, as long as they're favorable with it, I say you stick with Taylor, but you think about it. If you lose this game and Detroit wins and you don't have much to play for, I'm using air quotes if you're listening on our many streaming platforms. If you're out of it, quote unquote, then maybe you go back. But then also you could say, hey, Sam Howell, let's see what you can do. Let's give everybody a chance. And then you can just go out in the offseason and start to evaluate your quarterback position.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you ride with Taylor Heineke, but then, if things go off the rails, it's almost not actually a win-win, but you really can't go wrong with all 3 of those guys. You might want to see how he finishes out the season. I'm with you that you could see what Carson Wentz still has, to bring for beyond. And then, do you get a look at kind of like the Falcons did? They decided to go with their rookie quarterback. Do you put Sam Howell in there just to see how he handles things? So, it would be like I said, not a good thing, but you couldn't really go wrong with who you started at quarterback if and when you're out of it. But everything's in front of them. It's about beating the 49ers. Go out there, shock the world, get a big win, and get right back in this. And then it won't matter. You roll with Heineken, you roll into the playoffs. That's what I'm hoping happens.
That's what's going to happen. They go slide over there into Levi, the Jeans Palace, what they call it, Palace of Jeans, right, or something like that. So they got a hell of a matchup. But
and for as much as people want to say Kyle Shanahan is a genius, I think he's 1-2 against the Commanders / football team / Redskins. So they've had his number since coming back for most of the time. I think I'll double check that. But go beat your former friend there and get everything back right on track. But we'll talk about that more later on this week as we roll into Christmas. I can't believe we were almost there, playing on Christmas Eve. Games start again on Thursday, so make sure you get your bets in and head over to betonline.ag and use our code BELIEVE, BLEAV, 50% welcome bonus there. Don't forget to do that.
Yes, indeed. Listen to us on TuneIn Radio, Sirius XM. You can see us on Watch Stadium here and there and all your favorite streaming platforms. Share it with a friend, y'all. Go ahead and tweet it and retweet it and repost it and send it to somebody. Put it in the stocking stuff and give it as a Christmas gift, birthday gift, all those things.
Yeah, and we're on YouTube too. So if you want to see my 5-week-old, he's pretty cute. He's kind of chilling here with us too. So we had a third co-host. But yeah, thank you guys for checking us out in a whole bunch of different ways. And we'll be back to preview the 49ers game later on this week.
Y'all be easy.